Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are in the world. We have a quite staggered crew with us tonight. Thank you for joining LSC Transfer Rooms, Stars, Stripes, and Anfield Knights. With me tonight, I have Clem and Paul. We'll start with Paul. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well. Just just glad that all the international games are over and we seems to not have many injuries other than maybe ROBBO. So just looking forward to some serious football coming up in the weekend. Other than that, I'm okay. How about you guys?
Yeah,
Doing,
likewise.
I'm doing all right as well, Paul. Wasn't able to catch many international games, but Clem seemed like he was able to catch a few in the mornings. How you doing, Clem? And how are those games?
Yeah, doing well, guys. Great to be with you. And looking forward to the action returning this week. But yeah, finally. Well, I say finally, but Alexis McAllister still has a game in another hour and a half against
Oh
Costa
yes.
Rica.
Oh yes,
So
that game is in California, that's why it's so late.
yeah, I'll be watching that after this stream. But outside of that, touch wood, everyone's got through. Oh, outside of unfortunately Andy Robbo, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, that's kind of funny because I was talking to some friends earlier today, and they were just like, "Does anybody look forward to these international games or these international breaks?" And some of them I do, but this one I was actually looking forward to because I thought we needed that break, needed the rest. I didn't think with most of the games just being friendlies, it didn't seem like it players would be pushed too hard. But then we go and see. I just saw the clip, but Robertson looked like he, got pretty serious knock on the ankle. I don't know if it's going to be ligaments or whatnot. But Paul, what do you make of Robertson's injury, and how serious do you think it is for our final months in the season?
Well, fortunately, we have decent cover over on that left side there. I think it's gonna miss a game or two. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, and it's kind of hard to diagnose it from far on TV. But he walked with a little limp, but it didn't seem like it was too bad. It's nothing as serious as the injury that Jota or Curtis Jones picked up um, earlier last month or a couple of months ago. So I knowing how cautious Klopp and the LFC coaching staff, who they are, I expect him to miss at least a couple of games. Fortunately, Joe Gomez seems to be fine. He came out of his game today okay because he's one of the players that we can't afford to miss because he's so versatile. And also, Connor Bradley did very well today as well. I think he actually scored too. So if with Trent coming back, I think we should be fine in the fullback department if we have to lose Robbo for a game or two. So hopefully it's no more than that. But I definitely think he will not be available for at least the game on Sunday against we played Sunday.
Brighton.
Brighton, yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way with you. I think go figure that Joe Gomez has been one of our most reliable players injury wise in the
Right.
recent months, but definitely good timing on the injuries coming back at least, but in that department. But Clem, how do you think we need to handle these injuries going forward? Because I know that players, blanking on who it was. I think it was Dom primarily, but rushing them back early and potentially, like, I was looking forward to seeing the players get brought back. But do you think we need to ease them in? Who do you think? Like midfield's the area where we're getting some players back, and then Jota, obviously, Trent. How do you see these players coming back from injury entering the team? Like, How would you handle that situation?
Yeah, as you said, it's less than ideal. I guess we'll start with the positives, guys. We're getting some players back, and they'll be Curtis Jones, who will factor in, as you mentioned, Drew. Zaboslai is going to be, he got through the full 90 today, so he's getting up to match speed. We have some guys who are rested a little bit, Endo, Nunez, and Salah as well. But I think the key for me, guys, is going to be managing them throughout this tough schedule in terms of minutes. Klopp does like to make substitutions, but traditionally he'll make subs, maybe on the 60, the 70. This might be a good time to make halftime substitutions, with more guys coming back. We probably just do need to manage the minutes, especially at the back. For me, if Robbo is going to miss a little bit of time, we'll rely a lot more on Gomez. Bradley, like Paul mentioned, had an outstanding game today. And also Kanate, who got through a full 90, for France as well. Yeah, he wasn't moving too great towards the end of that game as well, because Chile were coming back from a few goals down, and they ended up almost equalizing. They lost 3-2 in the end, and France held on. But Kanate really had to come to France's aid towards the end of that game. So yeah, Kanate for me is a guy who's we're gonna have to really look out for a lot more. But Kwanzaa is a guy who I trust, and he can step in as well. But we probably need to look at those spots where we've got less backup and really take care of those guys the best that we can, I think. But I think in the midfield is probably where we have the most depth. Would you agree, guys?
Definitely. But just to put a lid on the problem that we're having at the back there, fortunately, it appears as if Tsimikas is fine too, because he played 120 minutes because his game was a knockout, so it went to penalties. Greece lost in penalties and he didn't get a chance to take one, but he played a lot of minutes too. So I was kind of hoping that we didn't get any more injuries in the back line there. Yeah, I agree. Most of our depth is in the midfield, and most of the youngsters that we have coming through, they are in the middle of the park. So this is the time with so many players in the midfield that you would think that the manager would get creative and to see, if one of these guys can perform at right back, left back, etc. But unfortunately, because we are in the middle of the Premier League race and we are really in with a chance, it's more difficult for us to experiment. So, I guess he just have to go with the best 11 he can for each game, because we can't afford to drop any points if we want to win the Premier League. Fortunately for us, I don't know how the Premier League slip up this time, but we don't have a 12:30 Saturday game after the international break. So somebody forget that slot belonged to us, but we're not complaining too much. So hopefully we should be fine, because once we get back playing, I think we have like 3 games in like about 9 days or something like that. So it's going to be intense for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's definitely the midfield will be interesting. Clem, that's a shout for like halftime substitutions depending on the games. And Paul, thankfully, praise the Lord that there's no 12:30 Saturday kickoff, especially as you were saying earlier, McAllister getting back late. Like, if he's playing tonight, he won't be getting back till close to, was it Friday or Saturday, most likely, back and rested. But yeah, we do have those positions in midfield. Like, I was impressed. I was checking my phone on breaks during work, checking all the highlights from games, and I don't know if you guys caught it, but Harvey Elliott's little like flick.
Yeah, pass. I saw it on Twitter.
He seemed like he was like a little annoyed that he wasn't called up to the senior team and was just having fun on the playground. But yeah, midfield's looking strong. But for me, I'm also curious. Real quick, Hasashi Shin Robbo did get injured today in his Scotland game against North Ireland. It looked like a collision injury. Still no word on how long, but as Paul was saying, no, we're not doctors, but if it's collision, hopefully it's nothing too bad, and unless it's ankle ligaments, we'll see. But
can you guys verify? He did. I heard some people say he did walk off, like or kind of gingerly, but he did walk off, right, by himself.
Yes, he did. I don't recall seeing. Yeah, he walked off by himself. It was a little gingerly, but it wasn't like he was in a walking boot or anything like that. Even though we didn't see him after the game, so you don't know. But back to that little flick there, Joe, from Harvey. I started to think that probably Harvey is not really a winger. Harvey is a number 10. Yes, we don't play with a number 10, but the more I see him play for the under 21s, um, it just struck me that maybe Harvey's best position is, further up just behind the front two, front three. Um, and sometimes we forget that Harvey is still so young because he's been playing so many games for us. And we talk about all of the young talents. We're talking about Bobby Clark, all of these guys, and we forget that Harvey Elliott is the same age as these guys. So we really have some serious talent, especially in that midfield there. So the future is looking really, really bright. This is a big incentive for any coach who have the opportunity to come to Liverpool. To don't let this opportunity pass because you might live to regret it. I hope Zabi is watching the stream tonight.
Well, it's also, Clem, I want to stay on the internationals just for a second because what you're saying about Konate putting in the shift for France. Just a question for the future, but do you think there's any responsibility from the clubs with the Euros coming up? Because I can't imagine, we're in the title challenge, so I imagine all the players are fully focused on that. But do you think there's any responsibility from the Premier League clubs or managers in general across Europe to make sure they're not overplaying players that probably have one eye on the Euros to an extent and a big tournament ahead?
I don't think there should be. I think obviously, if they can not play them as much, ideally rotate. But as you said, we are, going for 2 trophies. Now we do have a Jarell Kwanzaa, as I mentioned, who's key, but we've got some huge games coming up, guys. And there's only 6 more games at Anfield. I think. Correct me if I am wrong, but with Klopp departing as well, and some big away games as well at Man United. I think every minute of every game is just like there's no margin for error, as we saw in the FA Cup. So I'm full steam ahead with Liverpool, and and bringing my best guys into the lineup and playing them as much as I can. Where I haven't really seen a schedule that you guys have probably looked at is how many of those weeks where we have 2-3 games in that week is going to be the most difficult, no doubt, with Konate in mind.
Yeah, I also think it's difficult. The manager's main job is to their club, and these players too. The bulk of the funds, their income is generated by the club. They are being paid by the club. Not sure how much they make from their national team, but if they do make any money, it's not much compared to what they make from playing for the club. So that has to be priority, especially for the 6 or 7 managers at the top of the Premier League that are competing to get into Europe, and also the 5 at the bottom that is competing to stay in the Premier League, right? That's the priority for these guys. I guess if your team is locked in at number 12, 13, and there's 2 or 3 games to go, and you have nothing to play for, and a federation may ask you, okay, can you rest my player here or there for these last 2 games? Then I guess, there's something wrong in accommodating a request like that. But if you're a Klopp or a Arteta or a Pep or any one of these guys, the prize to win the Premier League, to get to the Champions League, to win in Europe, is so massive that has to be the priority, And I think players understand too, because if you are Mo Salah, for example, who, yes, you want to play for your national team, but you well know that Egypt is not going to win anything on the world stage anytime soon, and you desperately want to win the Premier League and to get into the Champions League. It's it's tough, you know. But I think the managers have to prioritize the Premier League because this is where the emphasis is. This is where they get paid, and this is the most important thing for the club, and even for our supporters. A lot of us really don't care much about international football. You know, it's all about our club, so that's the priority. I think it has to be.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's I suppose if you're Ivan Toney on Brentford, you can maybe kick your feet up for a bit and take it easy, unless Brentford gets sucked into the relegation. But yeah, I can't. Obviously, you're not going to pull players out running for title challenges or Champions League like Aston Villa with Ollie Watkins and some players there. But I just find it funny that the shoe's kind of on the other foot for this one. I wonder how many international managers were, calling up players or nitpicking and angry at managers in this international break, or that's classic them in the past, the domestic versus international fight over how pointless games, et cetera, et cetera. But shoes finally on the other foot, where this seems like this
Mm,
is going to go as far as possible in a lot for a lot of players who have Euros coming up or other tournaments. So just thought it was a interesting look at to see
mm.
how that's going to be handled. But
Yeah, and even watching these games too, like I can't imagine the managers are having fun watching their players on international duty. Think about Pep. The first game England played over the weekend, within 10 minutes, Walker is hopping. He has to be substituted. And then today again, less than 10 minutes, John Stones is off with an injury. So I just imagine Klopp sitting in his office and watching his top players, watching somebody putting in a hard tackle on one of his top players, even watching, even tonight, if I'm going to watch the game with Argentina and somebody putting a tackle on Maka, it's nerve wracking, you know. So but at the same time, the international obligation has to be fulfilled. So it's tough, man. But we just have to just hope for the best. That's all we can do.
Yeah, just to echo Paul's thoughts, you guys probably didn't see, but Australia played last night against Lebanon, and one of Australia's best young players had their Achilles basically, killed on a tackle
Ooh,
with somebody's studs going right in. Hrustic, he plays in the Eredivisie now. He just moved from Verona, and he's looking like he's going to be on the sideline for a long time. And he's finally just got a club move and to get more minutes. But yeah, that's international football. Now he's going to miss time, and it was a World Cup qualifier, so it was at least something of importance. But yeah, that
hmm.
it's unfortunate.
Did your team win? Did they win?
They did, yeah, 5-0. So
Oh,
Australia go through to the final round of the Asian World Cup qualification. So that's a positive. But yeah, in terms of the Euros, guys, I'll tune in when the tournament's on, and of course the World Cup I get behind, but I can't get behind these constant friendlies and interrupting the season. And thank God the AFCON is going to be in the preseason this season now, and we won't miss Salah for the season.
yeah, it's bizarre how fictitious or the relationship between international and domestic football is, and it's how they have not made a better schedule for this. It's not like it's a new problem. So, and then when you think of Champions League football, the added games that will be for next year in that tournament, it's going to be a nightmare for keeping players fit for both international and domestic. They need to figure that out. But yeah, you got me worried now, Clem. Reminding me of McAllister tonight because he's been, I think, one of our best players in recent weeks.
Is it, Paul? Is it a qualifier or is it a friendly?
it's a friendly. It's a useless friendly.
Maybe
So
they won't play him much. Maybe they'll sub him out early. Hopefully.
Well, I'm keep on checking my phone to see if the lineup is posted to see if he's on the bench, but the lineup is not yet posted. So if he's on the bench, then I'll let you guys know.
Oh man, yeah, we'll jump back into the fixtures coming up. But one last sort of news from the international break was Luis Diaz's dad, Papa Diaz, was talking about his desire of Spanish clubs. I don't have the quote right in front of me, but essentially that Spanish clubs were interested in Diaz prior to his move to Liverpool, but that Liverpool was the most interested. But that's not to say that the dream or the hope of Spanish clubs being interested in the future is diminished. So I don't want to get like too clickbaity or but just like I guess the question that comes from that is, or I'll throw from that. Start with you, Clem. Would you consider a bid for Luis Diaz in the summer if he was going to go to like a Real Madrid, or would you just say no, he can't leave?
Yeah, it's a question I think that's really going to have to be addressed this summer, because I think, as I've talked about on a few streams, with the changes and the fresh voices and vision coming in the building with Edwards, Hughes, we know a new manager wants to put their stamp on things, and they'll have their own opinions and things like that. To me, a Diaz isn't like I'm running to the door to sell him. It's got to be an offer that kind of blows me away, because my number one preference would be to keep Diaz. But however, if I am selling someone, he's probably in the top 3 to consider as well. Which, from a business point of view, it makes a lot of sense, because he's attractive. He's a player that is valuable, and with the reports we hear today of his father once again, bringing up the topic of the dream to play in the La Liga, which 100% understand. That doesn't worry me. That doesn't bother me at all. I respect his dream, his goals. Every player has their things that they grow up hoping to achieve. But I know he's 100% committed to Liverpool. When he's a Liverpool player. And I know, Paul will have some thoughts on, Diaz's potential, sale. But yeah, for me, I think it's more likely he stays for at least another season. But as I put in our group chat, I could see him, on another team in 2 to 3 years. I could definitely see that more as a realistic possibility.
Yeah, it's definitely for me. He's not a player who's like untouchable. I think for me, those are like Salah, Van Dijk, Allison, Trent. I love Diaz. I think he's had an up and down season, but I've been more in his corner than some. I think we know his quality, and I think what he's gone through this season, along with some injuries. We know what his quality is and his passion, and he's the kind of player that can take a game by the throat and score you that necessary goal when nothing else is on. So it's definitely, I'm similar to you, Clem. He's not on the like first priority would be to keep him, but again, if his dream is to go to Spain, I wouldn't stand in his way, and I know we'd get a pretty hefty price tag for a potential sale. So with the transition in the summer, I'll be curious to see if he does stay around. But I think we have a lot of quality prospect or a lot of quality players up front for us right now, and this isn't like a dire, back when it was Mane, Salah, and Firmino. It's not like if you lose one, we have no one to step up. But Paul, do you have anything to add for that Diaz chat, or are you just not even think Diaz's dad is just partying and having fun in the limelight for now?
Well, sometimes it's a little bit difficult with translated quotes, because he obviously gave his interview in Spanish, because that's the language that they speak. So sometimes the translation, might be a little bit off in terms of the context, the nuance of what is said. Because from what I've read, there's nothing that pops out at me as strange or unusual. Luis Diaz, born and raised in Colombia, which is a Spanish country. Most of those players want to play in Spain. So there's nothing unusual with that. And when he's playing for Liverpool, there is no time that any one of us can say that he gives less than 100% for Liverpool. But having said that, if there is a decent offer for him, and then the team goes to the player and says, "Hey, we have this offer from Team X. Do you want to go?" And he wants to go, then of course I would not force him to stay. But the offer have to be worthwhile. You know, it has to make sense because fortunately the position that he plays on that left wing, the other three guys that remaining are quite comfortable playing that position. And Lewis is what 27, so his sale value is at his highest right now. So if we can move one of these players like Diaz and upgrade or address another area of the pitch, then I would not be opposed to that. He starts over Cody, but then Cody is a couple of years younger than him, and Cody might be a little bit more versatile. And Lewis is one of the five forward that is the least versatile because he just plays on the left wing and that's it. So whilst I'm not, trying to sell him, but if the right deal comes up, then I would certainly expect the club to give it a long look and to make the move if it makes sense. So it's we have more pressing things to worry about. So in other words, what I'm saying is if he goes, we're fine. If he stays, I'm not worried either way. So I'm not concerned.
Yeah, definitely. It was one of those little clickbaity articles that came out over the international break. There's always going to be one or two, but yeah, definitely nothing to concern at this point. Luis Diaz is obviously going to be focused on our title push and Europa League Europa League push as well. But last bit of nostalgia before we move on to future fixtures is the LFC Legends match against Ajax Legends. Did either of you catch that match?
No, I didn't. I didn't watch it. I didn't know where to find it. It wasn't on. It wasn't on any of the usual channels that I watch my football on, so I didn't see it at all. It
How
wasn't on
about you,
TV
Paul?
here.
Yeah, I think it was on YouTube, for what I saw, or at least extended highlights that I caught after the game. So I didn't see it live, but I did see, quite a bit of the action. Yeah.
What did you think from what you saw, Glenn?
Yeah, it was my first time, I must admit, seeing some footage. So I know there's players of different ages, but yeah, the essence caught me, the nostalgia, like, growing up watching these legends and Fernando Torres, who I loved as when he was a Liverpool player, and no doubt it hurt me when he left. I understand people have different reactions about that. At the time, he did, I guess, have certain issues at the time. There was, the whole ownership debacle and things like that. But yeah, it's sort of more where he went hurt. But to see him return and to see him, treasure those memories and hear him give these quotes, I think was awesome to see. The goal that he scored was good to see him score, but it was an ugly goal. Getting in the right position though. He was more of a tap in. But yeah, just good to see him and Stevie G. For me, share. That was the most special thing for me. See them share the pitch again.
Yeah, I was very similar with that. I was a huge Fernando Torres fan. Let's see if I can tilt this up. There's my Torres autographed picture up there, and so huge childhood fan of Torres. Actually, childhood, I was probably in high school, but big fan. Definitely hurt to see him go to Chelsea, but I was not one of the ones at the time. I was crushed, but I was kind of easily forgiven because I remember how terrible we were at that time. Hutch and Torres was probably like 28 at that time, 29, I forgot. But it's like he couldn't stick around to achieve what he wanted to achieve. So I didn't hold the grudge against him. It was great to see him come back. It was clear that he, from the interviews with like Carragher and Gerard, how Torres, everyone didn't know the full story, etc. So it was nice to get that kind of closure to see him back playing, for Liverpool, scoring in front of the Kop. As you said, Clem, a very scrappy goal, but I was happy to see it, and it's nice to see the kind of heroes of childhood and see them back on the pitch for a good cause too. So I really enjoy those Legends games. But we'll go moving towards the future though, because this is certainly not the Roy Hodgson era. But Klopp has the chance for to end his Liverpool career with a high and a statement with the league and potentially Europa League as well. But we have the Fast and Furious. I'm not sure where I was trying to go with that, but the fixture list is very cramped as we come back, and it's getting to that business end of the season. We have Brighton up on Sunday. That'll be the early fixture that day with the big City versus Arsenal fixture after that. But we have Brighton at home, then Sheffield at home, and then United away. I think the span of that is like just a week or 8 days. How do you guys, Paul, start with you. How do we approach this game? Is it strongest lineups? Are you looking at Sheffield as a potential rest for some players? How do you think we approach this business end of the season where we're going to be playing 3 games a week?
This might be a cliche, but we have to take it one game at a time. Especially now that we no longer have to worry about the FA Cup because we're out. All the games that we have coming up are important games. It's pointless we prepare and put our strongest team to get 3 points against Brighton, and then relax and put out a youthful team to rest players against Sheffield and then drop points, because each game is 3 points. So I think the manager will play it game by game. The day before every game, he will look at his best 11 in terms of who is fit, who is available, and just go for it. Because at this end of the season, the business end of the season, which is where we are right now, we can't afford to be careless. I guess in the Europa League, because it's a home and away, it's a 2-leg scenario. If we win the first leg and we are comfortable by three goals or so, then we can experiment a little bit in the second leg. And I think we played in the first leg at home, if I'm correct? So the Europa League games coming up, then that's a little bit different. But as it relates to the Premier League, we have to approach each game as a must-win, because I want to sit back, relax, and watch that City Arsenal game if we have 3 points in the bag. But if we drop points, it will be hard to watch, irrespective of the outcome. If we win, then I guess I would kind of hope for a draw in that game. But as long as we win, then I really don't care too much exactly what happened. Because even if Arsenal beat City, Arsenal would still be ahead of us on goal difference if we win. But I'm pretty sure they're going to drop points because they have some tough games coming up as well. So the most important thing is just we need to get 3 points against Brighton. Brighton has been leaking goals quite a bit over the last couple of months. They are not a team that likes to keep clean sheets, and we like to score that goals at Anfield. So we need to get it done. But having said that, Brighton is a very dangerous team, and they can put 2 or 3 in your net in no time. So we have to be cautious. And plus, his name is being floated around as a possible successor to Klopp. So he probably might want to come to Anfield and put on a show for everybody to see. So we have to be careful with them, because yes, they will give you chances, but they give you chances by playing an aggressive style of football, and they can score. So it's not going to be a gimme game. So we just need to make sure that we put our best team every time we have a game, because there is no game. I guess if we're playing Sheffield at home and then we are up 4, we can rest. We can take Van Dijk off for the last 30 minutes or so. But in terms of our starting, we have to be prepared to play the best available player and go game by game.
I agree, Paul. That's like, for me, I know like you mentioned the cliche of taking it one game at a time, but I honestly think that's 100% true cliche. Like, I remember when we did blitz the Premier League that COVID year, that was what Henderson's mantra. Like every single post game interview was one game at a time, one game at a time, and by pretty much winter we were so far ahead, like 10 points ahead, and just extrapolated from there. But you mentioned it too with Arsenal. Right now, we're currently tied on points. Clem, do you think these games, like the Sheffield United at home, do you think we still we don't even pull out even a little bit, and we look to make up that difference with Arsenal in the goal difference category? Do you think that's something we have to look forward to as well?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and what was my initial reaction when Arsenal started to pile on the goals? But having looked at it, I'm not too worried right now, because I think with 2 really good wins, whether it's 2 goals, 3 goals over the next 2 fixtures, Arsenal, I'm hoping they lose that one. That's my preference. That City get the win. And I do think, Arsenal's goal difference will then drop, and ours will go back up to kind of level, with plenty of games remaining. So I look at the points as the be all or end all. I'm not worried about the goal difference for us right now. But yeah, to your point, that Sheffield game is a tasty fixture where you think, a lot of the guys can get on the score sheet, and they really put on a great performance at Anfield with the games, going by, the less games with Klopp and Anfield, and I want these games to be really special, and no doubt the crowd will be there, and and make it like a cauldron, in the run home, because I'm really going to treasure these remaining games at Anfield with Klopp, moving on.
Yeah, and also too, if you look at the remaining fixtures for the 3 teams, I would say that if one of the three of us will finish the league by winning all the remaining games, I think we have the best chance. Because if you look at the games that we have coming up, our toughest games are Tottenham at Anfield, and I think we have Villa at their place, and then United at Old Trafford. But all the games that we have for the remainder of the season in the Premier League, I think we'll be favored to win all of them. So, yes, we would like to pile on the goals so we can catch Arsenal in the goal difference category. But if we win out, we win the league. Because I am pretty confident that Arsenal will drop points somewhere along the way. And same thing with Man City. So if we win out and we don't have to play Arsenal or Man City again, which is good. So if we win the remaining games and we'll be favourite in all the games we have, then I think we win the Premier League by 2 or 3 points. So even though we have some disappointing results in that draw against Man City recently, that lost to Arsenal, that draw against them at our place, but still, to be at this point in the season where we have our destiny in our own hands. If we continue to put up the 3 points each game, we don't have to worry about asking lower place teams to help us out by beating our rivals. So I think it is in our hands. So we just have to take each game at a time. And I think we will do that.
Yeah, I'm in that boat as well, Paul. I think if we win our games, we're nailed on to win. I think we have the easiest fixtures out of the 3 teams, and the fact, Clem, you're saying with Klopp's last games, like every single game is going to be huge now. The home games are going to be immense. The away games, the away fans, like everything's so important. I think everyone's behind this team to make sure we have the best finale possible. I think that's going to be intimidating for other teams. And I think, yeah, City had to play Tottenham. I'm trying to think what else. Tottenham, Arsenal. They might have to play Villa. They've got away at West Ham, Wolves. Like, they've got some tough
Chelsea.
games. Chelsea. Yeah, Arsenal, similar boat. I think Arsenal have that North London derby. They have, I think they have Wolves. They have Brighton. This is just off the top of my head, but
plus the Champions League too.
Champions Bayern. Tate with Bayern. That should be interesting.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, like Paul's mentioned the Villa game, and a few months ago I would have been more worried about that. But Villa, their form has really dropped, and I think, I'm not as worried. Probably the Man United away game for me is probably going to be the most tricky. Outside of that, I think Tottenham don't do too well at Anfield either. So yeah, we should hopefully win out, and win it all.
What about West Ham away? That can be a tricky game.
It's 50-50. If they show up, they're a solid team, but we've also rolled them over, like, twice this season? No, was it the 4-0 and was it FA Cup or like League Cup that we demolished their first team with our B team? It was
because you remember Mikel Antonio promised that he would finish above Liverpool, so maybe they may be waiting for us there.
He retracted that too. I think he came back.
Did he?
He was like, yeah, he came back. He apologized or something like that.
But they have some good players though. I like that Mohamed Kudus guy, Paqueta, Jared Bowen. They have some quality players on that team, So, and they are trying to get into Europe too. So, but you know what? I think we should just worry about Brighton. We need to honor our own words. One game at a time.
Yeah, there's so many games still remaining when you think about it. There's a lot of twists and turns to come still, Paul, I think. And for me, the next biggest fixture is the United one. I think the next two being at Anfield is going to be a lot more straightforward. But yeah, and then obviously the City Arsenal game. I mean, the fact that that's right after our game, as Drew said earlier, if we could just pile on the pressure and have a really convincing win, and then we tune into that one. What do you guys prefer to see in that game? What result?
Well, assuming that we win, that we beat Brighton, then I will be perfectly happy with a draw. Because then if we win, and then that game is a draw, it means that we are 2 points clear of Arsenal and 3 points clear of City. So that would be, I would take a draw for sure.
Yeah, I'd take that 100%. If it had to be one team winning or the other, I would want City to win. I do not like Arsenal, so I feel like if City did somehow win, it'd just be like it'd hurt. It for sure hurt, but I would not want another team to overtake us in terms of the only team competing with City. So that'd be my preference. But I'm curious too, because I think there's going to be a lot of interesting fixtures, like even smaller ones you don't think will be big.
I think Arsenal have to go to Tottenham too.
Yeah, they got but even the smaller teams, because all these games are going to be like prime time. Like, this is the chance for a smaller team to be like, hey, we're going to be the ones that screw up this title race for this team. Like, all these games are going to be on TV with everyone. Like, I told my girlfriend, I was like, I'm sorry, I'm going to be watching a lot of games that aren't Liverpool, because normally I'll ask her if I can have time blocked out for the Liverpool game. But I was like, I'm going to be watching City's games. I'm going to be watching Arsenal's games, hoping that they drop points. And it's just going to be prime time. Like, De Zerbi, like you said, Paul, we need to beat Brighton first this weekend. Because De Zerbi's probably like, a lot of talk about Alonso. I'm going to show you why you should be paying attention to me, kind of thing.
And to Paul's point, the race for Europe and the relegation with these new deductions is spicing up the entire kind of the whole league, because there's going to be a lot more meaningful games.
Can you imagine a game between Everton and Forest? that would be a big game, you know. So yeah, it is. I like how the Premier League is setting up. I mean, obviously, I would have preferred if we were 6 points ahead, but for the neutrals, this is one of the best seasons we have had for the last few years, you know. So looking at Arsenal fixtures, it's pretty tricky because they have to go to Brighton. We are Brighton at home, but they have to go to Brighton. Um, they have to go to Wolves, which is no gimme. Of course, they have Chelsea, and they have to go to Spurs. So they have some tough game coming up. They have to go to United as well, just like us. So yeah, I think they're going to drop points. So we just need to win our games.
Yeah. What would be the most storybook way to finish the season for you guys? Like, you know, let's say it goes down to the final game, and let's hope it does not. But if it's a Joe Gomez goal, or if it's a Darwin Núñez, goal, a Salah, or a Van Dijk.
Okay, if you want to write a book, so this is it. So we enter the last game with a 1-point lead. So obviously we just need to win because we have a 1-point lead. And then Arsenal, who is second, they are leading their game 2-3-0. So they are comfortable. And we are in the 80th minute and it's still 0-0. And then, so we get a penalty. I'm not sure if I want Salah over that. I probably would say give it to Maka. Because Salah, I don't know, in big games, especially on pens, I just always a little bit nervous when he's standing over the. I remember when we used to have Milner take some of those pens, and I never once think that he's going to miss. But for some reason, Salah just seems to hit and miss. You know, when he kicks them in, it's fantastic because he hits it hard, but he has some misses, man. You know, he has some really terrible misses. I don't know. I think I would want to see Maka take that penalty in that situation. I don't know what you guys think.
I agree with that, and you left me hanging there, Paul. It's like is Salah just gonna miss that? Like my heart, like the Dan's winner,
let's make it more dramatic. Salah misses the penalty, but then the referee goes like this because the keeper was off his line, so retake.
I can't take it. Like the last few games, like Núñez's 90 whatever minute goal, like I'm not even celebrating, like cheering. I'm just like clutching my heart, like thank God we pulled this out.
No, I'm watching the referee.
We get a Connor Bradley and a Trent Alexander-Arnold goal, like for the two of them.
Like one of those double bicycle kicks where they both hit the ball at the same time. That'd be epic. But all right, we'll wrap up soon, but kind of, had a nice jovial moment there. Hopefully we have. I just want us to win, like 2 games left of the season. It's in the bag. We can finally take a breather, and that Europa League final. I'm not sure when that is. Is that after the season ends?
Yeah.
The Premier League. Okay, then give us like 2 weeks where we can prepare for that. Already in the bag. That's my storybook ending. No drama. Happily ever after. But Clem, give you a chance to answer that. What's your biggest storybook for the finale?
Well, I think we're always thinking about Liverpool first, but wouldn't it be nice if obviously we do the business earlier, or if it does come down to that final game, wouldn't it be nice if Arsenal or City bottle it in the final round as well? And let's say a Ross Barkley from Luton comes in and, and breaks hearts and, and we do the business as well. But for me, look, I think I'll take it anyway. Obviously, a storybook wouldn't be a penalty. It would be, a cracker from Trent or McAllister. It has to be fitting that Salah has to score as well, and don't count out Endo. Who we know the storyline in the summer. He was, the signing where people thought was, people were talked about as the panic buy. Yeah, he would have scored 3 goals in the season if that United goal wasn't offside. And I think with 9 games remaining, he's good for a goal to come up as well. He does get forward a little bit, and can find the goals as well. So that would be a nice storybook. It might not be the final game, but I think we might get another goal from Endo this season, which would be cool. But look, Luis Diaz, I think we talked about him in this episode. He's been quite had his peaks and valleys this season, but the effort he's given and the way he played for Colombia in this international break just reminds you of how talented he is, guys. And he just lacks that final finish recently. It would be nice to see him, score a brace or a hat trick. What do you guys think?
Well, before I get to that, the last time I saw Liverpool score a goal that I actually cried was a couple of years ago when Alisson lost his father, and then he scored that goal against West Brom to get us in the Champions League. You remember that goal, that header? That was after the game, and I saw all the players rushing to hug Alisson. That was just so emotional. Yes, we eventually finished third, so we probably would have gotten into the Champions League if it was a draw anyway, but we didn't know at the time, and that was a game that we had to win. And just the entire circumstances behind it. He just lost his father, and he came up, I was saying, where is Alisson going? And then it was not a scrappy goal, if you guys remember. It was a perfect leap, perfect header to the far corner, so that was a goal that any number 9 would be super proud to have scored. So that was one of those goals that if you were watching a movie, you would say, oh, that's just pure fiction, that can't be real. So, but having said that, I am not prepared for another scenario like that. I don't think my heart can take it. So just give us a nice, boring 3-4-0 in the final game so that we can just breathe and relax. And for the last half hour, we can move and just to watch other teams struggling while we have everything in the bag. I will take that, So if Luis Diaz is going to score a hat trick, let him score it in the game before so that we don't need to worry too much about the last game. And then, I want to be able to go into the last game of the season and can be relaxed and say, okay, let's see who is going to come second or third, or who is going to get into Europe, who's going to get relegated. Let's see if Everton can beat Forest to stay up. That's what I want to focus on, because I think we have had enough as Liverpool supporters. We have had enough of these games that, that's so hard to watch, these endings, that I don't think we can take another one this season. So I'm hoping that it's a nice, easy, relaxed end to the season, and then we lift the trophy. So let's see. So Drew, you give me your scenario now. What you hope for and what you think is going to happen.
I want it like done 3 games before the season ends. I can't do it. Like I swear, like when we won the League Cup final, when Van Dijk scored, I'm like on the couch, just like holding my heart, just like not even yelling and screaming, but so just like thankful that we pulled it over.
Yeah.
Same with Nunez, but I just 3 games and like just let City and Arsenal bottle it. Easy as it can be. I just want the camera to be on Klopp smiling the entire game as we beat. When we play Wolves on the last day, as we beat them like 5-0. Absolutely no need to beat them either. Just smiling Klopp on the sideline. But, what I think will happen will it be on the last day, and we'll need like City to drop points to West Ham or somebody.
I wonder who City's last game. I didn't check.
It's West Ham, right? Or is it...
I think it'll be won by then, but don't forget those final days, the games are all the same time. So hopefully it's a case of, at least by the second half things are settled, and we can, like you said, get the champagne ready, and just enjoy the celebration.
I remember the Aston Villa game though with Gerrard against
Oh
you.
Lord,
Like
I
that,
hate
like
Stevie G for that. They were up 2-0, and I don't know why he just played so open. You're bleeding by 2. You have nothing to gain. You know that Liverpool needs it to drop points. You would think that he would be a little bit more cautious.
no, he took
Uh,
Coutinho off. Like Coutinho was killing it, and I
yeah.
forget who he took. I was just like, "This is the last game of the season. You don't like." I
Uh,
don't want to. I don't want to get into it.
anyway,
So, but Clem, I'll ask
no
you,
man.
everyone in the chat, if you have any final questions, throw them in. I'm gonna ask the one that I starred. I saw this from Asashi Sheen. Do you guys think we will move Jota on since Edwards is here and he's injury prone? Also, Kanate. Clem, I'll give you that hardball question first.
Yeah, look, we as I mentioned, we talked about Diaz before. Jota, you can classify him in the same age. I think they're both 27.
Mm.
But not knowing the wages of the players, and I don't know if that'll be a factor. But in terms of play, like Jota's, when he's played this season, he's been nothing but effective and goals, and he's someone that I really want to keep entering his prime. I know there is that injury, concerns in terms of he does seem to miss a few games a season. Hopefully that trend can end, and I think he's really valuable next to Nunes and Salah. He can go missing for 89 minutes and he just knows where the goal is for that one other minute. That's fine by me. The goal is to outscore the other team. The thing about Jota is, and maybe there's a correlation between some of these injuries, but he plays hard. Like he goes in for these 50-50 challenges, and that's what happened recently when the guy from Forest, I think, fell on him. And he just plays physical. He goes after it for a smaller guy. He's good with the head. He's good with both feet. I mean, he's a keeper for me.
And Kanate, Clem?
Yeah, for Kanate, similar concerns in terms of durability, but talk about a young up and coming, a young established, star now in terms of centre backs around the world. I watched him today. He's excellent with his feet, excellent in the air. As long as we're open to keeping Verge, I think we have the best centre back pairing in the Prem. And I think, as we talked last stream with Stephen, the Reds have, I think, joint or the best in terms of goals conceded, least goals conceded. So I think that's a winning formula. Not conceding. If I was a manager, my number one philosophy is to not concede first, because you're always in the game. And then the second goal is to obviously score. But my priority is to always keep a clean sheet.
Yeah, definitely. It's I think Kanate, as you said, one of the best young center backs, and I think that when fit, he and Verge are indeed the best center back pairing in the league. And I don't know. I also think if you see Gomez, going on a run of in terms of fitness, it's not something that's out of the realms of possibility of being able to manage Kanate. And Clem, you said a few times this stream, Kwanzaa, we have the quality around the center backs to be able to manage Kanate's fitness. So he's still very young as well. I think he was 24.
Yeah.
Didier just chomps on France, views him highly. There's absolutely no world where I see Kanate being moved on at this point. And similar for Jota, I think for me, the kind of comparison I think for injury crisis is, when we were looking at Naby Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, the classic midfield that was always injured. I felt when they came back from injury, they weren't always firing. And, it was just kind of like, all right, these players are only around for a handful of games this season and they're not always playing well. Versus Jota, who just comes back and seems to absolutely fit right back in and be, he's one of our most clinical finishers. You don't get rid of that, especially when goals aren't exactly what you want from that position.
And also, I think, do you guys think maybe with Alonso and his three at the back could even heighten the need for Kanate, and also how Jota would fit into those systems as well? Because I do think Alonso's 80% done. I know some people have their doubts, but I do think it'll be Alonso for me.
Well, I really like Jota because if you want the ball to fall to somebody in the 6-yard box, he's the guy, right? But I wouldn't be surprised if he's sold though. One, he's at that age, where that's the peak of players in terms of their value. And Edwards is a ruthless kind of guy, but he will only move Jota if he has an opportunity to improve the front line. So let's say, for example, he can get a guy like say Rafael Leo for say 90 million. And you can get Jota, you can sell Jota for say 60, 65 million. If he can look at it as, okay, I can improve this position with a younger player who is super talented for a net spend of 25, 30 million. I think he would do something like that. But absent something like that, an opportunity like that, I think Jota is going nowhere. And I'm fine with that. Because it's easy to say that a player is injury prone, but injury prone to me is those players who just go down without anybody really touching them, like this guy at Tottenham, Van der Ven. The last couple of times he got injured, nobody's close to him. That's injury prone. But when an opponent literally fell on your leg and your leg is twisted, or somebody, you get the studs in your Achilles or something, it's kind of hard to call those injuries as injury prone. That's just bad luck. So I would say Jota is more bad luck or unlucky rather than injury prone. The guy who's injury prone is Pedro Neto from Wolves. He's a super talented player, but I probably would be hesitant to go for him because he's injury prone. Michael Olise, those guys are good players, but they're injury prone. So Jota is just unlucky. So I am not looking to sell him, but he is not Trent. So in other words, he's not untouchable. But if you hear that we are moving Jota, you can rest assured that with Michael Edwards, it means that there is an opportunity to improve the team. So if that is the case, then we wouldn't complain. But I don't think he's going anywhere, though. That's just my opinion. As it relates to Ibu, he's going nowhere. Because where are you going to find a 24-year-old centre back as good as him to make sense to sell him, to replace him? Any centre back in world of football right now that is at that age with that skill set and that ability, it's going to cost you way over 100 million, right? Because centre backs are more expensive than fullbacks. So I don't see. Ibu is somebody that I expect to be at Liverpool for the next 6-7 years because Verge is 32 and Verge is still playing at a very high level. And Ibu is 6 years younger than Verge. So Ibu is going to be the rock at the centre-back position for the next 5-6 years. That's what I think. So I would not be surprised if both of those players is with us for the long term. But as I said, if Jota leaves, it's because there's an opportunity to upgrade the team. So other than that, I think they all stays.
And just to wrap up the stream, I'll go around and get your score predictions for the Brighton game and the City Arsenal game after. Clem?
I'm going to go 3-1 Liverpool. Salah, Nunez, and I'll say Van Dijk gets one. And then the City Arsenal, I'm going to say City 2-1.
Well,
I am going to say, I'm always very optimistic. I'm always predicting clean sheets and comfortable wins. So I'm going to continue that trend. I'm going to say 3-0. And this is how I am so good. One of the goals will be an own goal.
Who scores the own goal, Paul?
The Brighton keeper. So we're going to win 3-0. One own goal.
It better not be off a Joe Gomez strike, though.
Well, I don't know. I take it. And it's going to be a goal from Salah and Szoboszlai. That and three. As I think City is going to pump Arsenal 3-1.
Okay. Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be funny. I'd take that. I'll take any Liverpool win, and I'm hoping. For me, I'm gonna go bold, Paul. I like the clean sheet. I'm gonna go 4-0.
Mm.
You know, see if we can rock Brighton and make it a really enjoyable, calm afternoon. 2 in the first half, 2 in the second half. I'll only put Cody Gakpo in at the end, maybe 2 solo goals to start us off, Nunez, and then Cody Gakpo coming on as a sub. But City, I'm gonna go with 0-0, and we'll see. We'll see. I'm actually either spot on most predictions or completely horribly off the mark. So we'll see. But thank you everyone for joining tonight. We really appreciate you joining the stream, all the comments. We do this every week on Tuesday nights, Star Stripes Anfield nights. This is for our fans around the world who aren't always in England, but everyone is welcome, and we really appreciate everyone tuning in, giving us a watch. Thank you to Clem, and thank you to Paul for joining us tonight. Everyone have a great rest of your week. Hopefully Liverpool win, and hopefully a draw